Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and we saw some movement for Harris. To be clear, it's still too close to call, still within the margin of error there. But is it fair to say, Frank, in your opinion, that this enthusiasm that we've seen anecdotally and in the crowds, donations, is translating into actual support?
It's more than fair. It's accurate that the change over the last 17 days has been significant. It's meaningful and measurable, and it's being led by younger women who had opted out of this campaign and now see someone who they can relate to and someone who they want to vote for. It's being led by those who I call paycheck to paycheck voters, people who literally have challenges at the end of the week or end of the month making ends meet. By the way, don't call them working class. They resent that. These paycheck to paycheck voters really do want to make a difference, and they really do see in her campaign someone they can relate to. And third, and probably equally important, Donald Trump has not had 2 good weeks since Biden pulled out. He's been off message. He's been very negative and very hostile, and clearly he's kind of lost his balance. He absolutely emerged from the convention with a clear and convincing lead. But what has happened, he stopped talking about immigration, he stopped talking about inflation, and instead he's been so personal with his attacks that voters are starting to recoil, and it's been really an awful 2 weeks for him.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like, based on what you're hearing, that personal attack and getting away from any of the issues is helping him.
Exactly. And we see it because we're doing focus groups now, trying to measure those who are coming over to Harris who do not support Biden. And make no mistake, they are issue voters, and nothing matters more to them than either inflation, which I call affordability, because they simply can't get the food and the housing and the health care and the fuel and all the things they want to live. And it's also immigration, which is a broader issue to them because that's a sense of safety and security. Trump has the advantage, and this is what I do not understand as a pollster and someone who's been doing this for 35 years. Trump has the advantage on these issues by 10, 15, even 20 points. And yet he's not talking about them. She's on message. He is not.
Yeah, I want to listen to one of your focus groups. We have a clip. This is a Republican voter who's considering Vice President Harris. So let's listen to that.
For me, it's more of an issue with Donald Trump and the options that are now available. I would not have voted for Joe Biden. I'm a Republican, but I'm not a Donald Trump supporter, and I did not like Joe Biden. With him gone, Harris is a better option than Donald Trump, in my opinion.
Why is that?
As much as I disagree with some of her policies, I think that the country is headed in the right direction, and under Donald Trump, it would not be headed in the correct direction.
It's really interesting. I don't know enough about that voter. Maybe he was what we would consider a double hater, Frank, the people that didn't like Trump and didn't like Biden. But we have seen movement in Harris's direction in those types of people. But his particular sentiment that he was just talking about, did you hear that often?
Yes, let me clarify this. If this is an issue-based campaign, Trump still has the advantage. Not only am I not calling him out, she is winning right now. She is absolutely ahead. But we have ups and downs. This lead will go back and forth. But remember, this is happening before the convention. She's going to get a bounce from that convention, and she's getting a pre-convention bounce. If it's about issues, Trump is much more likely to be successful. If it's about attributes, Harris is much more likely to be successful because, quite frankly, people like her more than they like him. It's something that if he's watching this right now, his head is exploding. And that's part of the problem. He has lost touch with the people that he needs, and she is in perfect touch. Look at the rallies. Look at how she relates to them. The challenge is what happens when she has a press conference. What happens when she faces people like you asking questions like yours? That's significant. She hasn't had to do it, and eventually she will be forced to do so. But as it's happening right now, her attributes versus Trump's issues, she's got the lead.
Yeah, and it is kind of remarkable because you do see her making a lot of ground, and for all the reasons you're laying out there, Trump could also very well, as you just said, win this race too, for all the reasons you've laid out, that when it comes to issues, he continues to lead. And yet, he continues to choose to focus on the personal attacks, which just don't work, according to you.
We have never had a situation where the country was more universal believing that we're off on the wrong track, believing that it's harder to make ends meet today than it was 3.5 years ago, believing that we're worse off today than we were 4 years ago. Donald Trump should be winning based on those beliefs, and they are widely held, and the spread is significant, and yet he's not. And the reason why in the end is Donald Trump, the persona. And it's fascinating as a pollster because this is going to determine who wins on election day. And that's why messages and advertising and shows like this and press conferences, it all matters. 4 weeks ago, Joe Biden was the Democratic nominee. Today, life is completely different, and who knows how it'll be 2 weeks from now.
That is absolutely true. We are going to all watch as it unfolds, and then the voters are going to decide in the fall. Frank Luntz, thank you so much.
Thank you.
More news straight